All right, y'all. Today we're in the podcast with Jonathan Ljungqvist. It's a really great podcast. We're discussing everything about the first leg, how it was in Zimbabwe, Namibia, Botswana, South Africa, the insights I got, but also the planning for the next one. Some of the challenges we had, but also like all the amazing gratitude we felt during this tour. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and let me know in the comments what you think.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Million Podcast. And today I have a true hero here in the studio. Alexander Murad has just came back from Africa. He's been touring for 3 weeks, and he actually reached 45 million people on this tour. He has been in some of the biggest local media in Africa. You've been to Zimbabwe, Namibia, Botswana, South Africa, and now you're here in Furusjö in Sweden.
Yeah.
What are you most proud of with this journey, Alexander?
Oh, you went right into the deep questions. I think I'm really proud of the positive impact we're already seeing. I'm proud of everyone showing up. It's actually it's really hard because I'm from Sweden. I've never been to that side of the world. I don't know many people there. So it was kind of a gamble, right? I didn't know, like, would anyone show up? I remember sitting on the plane, going there, and thinking like, what am I doing? Why am I investing all this time, energy, and money on this? What if I go there and there's like 4 people shows up, right? So I think I'm very proud of the fact that people actually showed up. That proves that people wants this and are eager to learn, and that we've already seen a lot of positive impact.
When did you had the idea of I want to go to Africa? Because I know you were a lot in France and in Europe, and I think many people thought you were going more to the States and America, but you chose Africa. Why?
I think it's like, I think we spoke about it a little bit in the last episode as well. This was never my game plan, but when I stepped down, I did that because I want to do this, because I see that there's a lot of overlooked countries, cities and countries and continents that people rarely visit. Like if anyone ever goes to Africa, they go to South Africa. No one has ever visited like Botswana or Namibia or Rwanda and stuff like that in this kind of sense. Like people visit it, of course, but not public speakers. They don't go there and have shows. So I think when I came to that realization and also understood how important AI would be for them to actually thrive globally, that's when I decided that, like, hey, someone needs to do it, and it just happened to be me.
I remember it was a couple of months ago. We were in the sauna here in the back of the studio, and you told me this idea. And one thing that's very cool with you is you have an idea and then you take action. Why can you do that so fast compared to other people?
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't thought about that. I don't know if like my brain just works very, like, I go through all the different reasons very quick in my head and be like, okay, what's good? Why should it work? Why doesn't it work? And then when I realize that, hey, this could work, I try to take action. And what I do is, I've mentioned this to you, and we have like videos of this when I talk about things I'm gonna do. You'll be like, yeah, you're not gonna do that. But I always talk about what I will do. I think it's so interesting because a lot of people say that never speak what you're about to do, keep it to yourself. And I think that's the old way of doing it before like social media and stuff. But now I always tell people, it works for me very well because that becomes like a manifestation. And for some reason, when people tell me you can't do it, that's when I want to do it more, right? And like, I don't think there were very few people who believed in this idea. They were like, oh, it's not gonna work. Why should you go there? I literally had companies that I reached out to for like sponsorship that said that, I mean, isn't it better to just send them food instead? Like, do they need AI in Africa? Which is a wild statement, and just saying it right now just feels crazy, right? But all that just made me feel like I want to do it. Like, I need to do it. Because no one believes in this. No one has ever done this in this way. I need to do that. But that's also why sitting on the plane, first to Ethiopia and switching flight to Zimbabwe, sitting on that plane, all those voices became so real. Like I'm sitting there all by myself on a plane, and I keep hearing like, "Why are you going there? Who cares about that? Why no one there about cares about AI? Why were you wasting all your energy? Why would you quit your job when Brightman is doing like the best right now during the like? Why would I keep hearing these voices in my head? And I was like, what the am I actually doing here? Like I was like, this is so dumb, and I let all those voices get to me. But I think that's a difference as well. Like you shouldn't let I don't usually let people's voice get to me that way. And I think it's important to like if it's easy, everyone would do it, right?
Yeah, but
And that's why no one does it.
yeah, but you're very not normal.
You heard it here first. I'm very not normal.
But you do things like yeah, you have some sort of courage, I would say.
Yeah.
I will never forget the first time I entered Tanzania. That was a very
Yeah, you've been there.
yeah,
Yeah.
many times, and I remember I was so afraid. And Tanzania, wow, what's gonna happen when you step your foot in Zimbabwe? Did the voices disappear then, or was it still nervous the first couple of hours in Zimbabwe, or how did it feel?
Man, as
when
soon
you
as I
left?
saw Sinclair, which was one of the local guys that were helping us a lot, he met with us at the airport. As soon as I saw him and we just, said, I was like, okay, I'm safe. Like this is all good. I don't let prejudice control me. Like I was never afraid of going to. I think the thing I was most scared about was like diseases for some reason, because everyone's like, you need to have this vaccine. You need the mosquitoes will eat you. I did like there were barely any mosquitoes, right? I was never like wherever I went, it was constantly people saying, "Be careful! Don't go on this street. Avoid this." Especially like when we're talking about Johannesburg and like everyone in Joburg, you can't walk outside. People, it's the most dangerous. Like even people from Joburg said that, "Oh, are you coming here? Be careful." Like I was sending live from the Uber and showing my environment. Like, "Hey, I'm here right now. Don't show your location. People will come and take your kidneys." And I was like, I just think people are over exaggerating. I was out during the nights. I was out in Zimbabwe. I went out to a club all by myself. I was like, I'm going out. I just walked around the street. The streets people told me you shouldn't go. Right. I walked there, and then someone in that club was like, "Hey, what you doing?" I was like, "Hey, I'm just walking here." Like, "Hey, come in. This is a good club. Join here." I was like, "Okay, I'm going in." He turns out he was a DJ, and he just invited me to like a VIP table, and then we were like 10 DJs sitting there and me, and we're like just vibing, listening to music, and he invited me up to stage, and I like could DJ with him and stuff like that. So I don't know, but I just feel protected in a way. I think if you walk around and are afraid and predict things will happen, then you manifest that as well.
How did you plan the schedule? I mean, you've been talking like 67 hours in 3 weeks. That's insane. How did you plan the schedule of the days?
It wasn't like I'm not gonna take credit for that. I had this. I have a coordinator, Seina, from Jitamani, Africa, and so she's locally in Kenya, and she planned everything. Like we did it together, but like she's the one that, like I didn't know anything. Like this 67 hours you're talking about, that's something I realized afterwards. I'm waking up every day. I'm like, hey, what's the schedule for today? It's like you need to be at Good Morning Namibia at 7 a.m. Then you have this event at 9 a.m. and then it's at 11 a.m. and then it's 1 p.m. and then it's 3 p.m. and then it's 5 p.m. and then it's a podcast at 7 p.m. I'm like, all right then I should get breakfast, I guess. Right. So she was planning most of it.
She was with you, or did you? Yeah, so, she was with you the full time.
Yeah, she was with me. Everything.
Wow.
She made sure everything worked. Like every location we went to, she made sure that that we had the Wi-Fi to connect the computer. We had like all the tech stuff was working. Everyone was there. Like it wouldn't have been possible without that. Like because especially if I'm gonna talk 67 hours. Like my only focus was to be like, okay, I'm here now. I need to go do a good show. So like no, but she planned the most of it. And I think it was like I would not say easy. but we had struggles because the partner that was supposed to do all that didn't do it, and we found out like 3 weeks before the trip that there was nothing booked. So in like 1 week, I posted on my socials. I like, hey guys, I'm coming to your country. Anyone who wants me to speak, you better speak up now because we're booking it, right? And I just got flooded. I got like 300 DMs from people all of these countries, be like, hey, come to our place, come. And I just sent all that to Sena. I was like, take meetings. And she took all the meetings. She chose the one that she thought was best, and that's why it got so packed as well.
How did you found Sena?
That's actually also like a crazy thing. I post on my socials, right? And I had a lot of like the reason also Africa was a continent I started with. I'm also going to Asia and stuff like that. Is because I had so many followers from Africa even before. And a lot of my videos went viral in those areas. And one of the videos went viral, and Sena sent me a DM about it. And I read all my DMs. Even if I get 300 DMs, I read. I don't answer everyone. If you just write hi, I'm not gonna be a hey like that, But if you write something important, I'll answer that, right? And she wrote like, hey, this was super inspiring. Where can I get more about this and that, right? And then I answered that. Okay, here you can find more stuff about that. Then she kept asking me questions, and she was like, "Hey, are you doing any mentorship stuff and stuff like that?" And I was like, "No, not really, but I can hop on a call and we can just, for free, I can just talk a little bit about it." And we did that, and she told me like what her dream was and what she wanted to do, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." Didn't think more about that, and then when I wanted to do this, I was like, "Okay, I need to contact her again," and I just said that, and she was like, "Okay, I'm on board."
Wow.
So I'm very, like you say, I'm very quick, but I think my head, I see like puzzles. Everything is puzzles. So for me, it was like, okay, this is what she does. If I ever need to use this piece of puzzle, as soon as I thought Africa, I was like, okay, Sena, like that. So that goes very quick. Same thing was with my videographer, Martin.
He saw you in
Latvia.
Latvia.
Yeah, so when I was in Latvia, Riga, he didn't see me, but his partner did, his business partner. And I just posted on my Instagram, like whenever I go to a city, I'm like, hey, recommendations for restaurants, right? And people answer that. And everyone who gives me an answer, I go in and check who is this person. Because if they took their time to watch my story and give me a recommendation, I'm just going to say, who is this person, right? And his business partner, I went in and she was a photographer, a really good photographer. And I was like, okay. So I was like, hey, you want to do a photo shoot since I'm here? I was like, I'm willing to pay this amount. Apparently that amount was like super huge in Latvia, right? I didn't know the differences. And she was like, yeah, we do that. It was super cheap for me. I was like, I only have this small sum, but because I wasn't planning it. And she was like, yeah, that's perfect. Let's do that. And then I met him because he was filming it when she was taking pictures. And he was like, yeah, my dream is to tour. Like, I want to go with like an artist or something and tour with them. And I was like, hey, I want to tour the world. You want to join me? And he was like, yeah. And that's how it started. That was the first time I met him. And I just right there was like, okay, let's do it.
How can you trust people that quick?
How can you not? Like, they didn't. No one has done anything. I believe in, give everyone, innocent to proven guilty, right? I believe that if you walk around, I'm gonna curse here, but I've been fucked so many times. Like, so many people have used my trust. I'm very naive that way, right? Same with those, the organization that was supposed to plan everything. I had so much, like Sena kept telling me like, you need to ask them for this, you need to ask them for that, and I was like, we can't micromanage it. Like, we have to trust. If they say they're gonna fix it, they're gonna fix it, right? If they don't, then we solve it, right? So sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes it does. But I'm not gonna let past bad experiences hurt who I am today. It's not, I know so many people who are like, oh, I can't trust anyone anymore because these two people destroy. Like, that's for me is racism against. Like, that's how racism works, right? You have one bad experience with someone from another country, and you're like, oh, I can't trust these people anymore, right? Like, you have two bad experience from the whole human species, and you're like, oh, I can't trust people. Like, it's weird. So I tend to, like, I trust, I give people the benefit of the doubt, but I usually don't give them like too many other chances. Like, if, like, for instance, now if Martin or like Sena or someone else during this process didn't treat this process how it was supposed to be treated, took it for granted, didn't do their work and stuff like that. It's not like, okay, but let's keep doing it. I just find someone else.
Okay. So it was the three of you all the time.
Yeah.
Wow. What's your best memories with the three of you? Like, did you have a drink after a big day? Was it before the big show in Botswana? So what's your best memory?
Like, I don't drink, so we didn't do that. But I think they had a couple of drinks during some nights.
When did you stop drinking?
I stopped drinking after my show in Athens. Because I got drugged. Someone put something in my drink, and that's when I was like, "Hey, why do I even drink?" I was like, "I don't even need it. I'm way funnier without it. Like, I don't." And it always makes me just feel like I get too tired afterwards, and it ruins my health and everything. Especially doing this world tour. Like, if you're supposed to talk for 67 hours, some of these days it was like 9 hours flat without food and just talking. Like, you can't be drinking. Like, you have to act like an athlete. Like, all I do is, when I'm home now, all I do is like go to the gym. I eat. If you see my food, it's like it's super healthy, super clean, and everything. Because you want to be doing it on an elite level, you have to also treat your body like that, right? What was the memory? Memory we had,
like watching a sunset in Botswana.
Like every sunset in all these countries was incredible. Namibia, I think we got the best sunsets and sunrises from. But I think one of the like a nice memory we had was right before the Botswana gig. Like we huddled up, three of us, and like, okay, guys, like all these people came here for this. Like I do this. I did that. For every show I do that for myself. Like when I go alone in my zone, and I just remind myself that, okay, hey, I don't care if it's 20 people or if it's 2,000 people here. These people chose to spend their afternoon or their morning with me. They could have watched Netflix. They could have been with a friend. They could have done something else. They chose to be here with me. I want to do my best, the best I can ever do, no matter how many they are. So I'm like I'm literally like talking to God. I was like, give me the power to like say the things that they need to hear, that resonates, to help them and to empower them, and make sure that their minds and ears are open to hear what they need to hear. Right? In that situation, we did that together, and that felt really powerful. So that one was a great memory. Another great memory was we had this one gig that didn't. Like, we thought we booked a venue, but then there was this guy who was, we can talk about that conflict if you want more in detail as well. But there was a guy who was just full of himself and was like, no, you didn't book it through me, whatever. And I just loved how the team just turned out. Like, within 1 hour, we just booked another venue. We took all the contact details from those who showed up and wanted to see it. We sent them an email like, hey, this is the new venue. If you want to come. So we booked a new venue. We went there. We did a show. We made sure that those people, and it wasn't like it was a small event, right? So it was like, I think it was only 25 people, and I'm pretty sure every other team, speaker, etc. in the world would be like, whatever, 20 people is not worth it. Let's just go on with our day. But we were like, no, there's 20 people that needs to hear this. So let's just fix it for them, and we did, and that was amazing.
And the first event, the first talk is always special.
Yeah.
I mean, is anybody gonna show up? How is this gonna feel? How was your first speak?
I was nervous.
Yeah, I guess.
We were in Harare, Zimbabwe, and I was nervous. I was like, because I don't even know. I've never been there, as I said. I don't know. I don't know if anyone want to show up. I don't know what their thoughts are. I don't know if they'd be like, who is this guy coming here? Like, I didn't know anything, right? And I went in there, and it was like, I think it was like 300 people, 300 people there. And but they weren't there in the beginning. Like, I go there, it's empty. I'm there at the time we're supposed to start. I'm going there, it's like 5 people in the audience, and people will be stressing. You're like, oh, and I'm like, you know what? I don't care. Like, these 5 people, they're gonna get the best show they've ever seen, and then they're gonna tell other people, and the rest of the shows are gonna be packed because it's we're gonna do this insane for these 5 people. And I step aside and I do my thing, and then I come back at like 30 minutes after the show is supposed to be, like, because they said we ping you when we start, because in Africa they have African time zone, right? It's everything starts like I didn't know that. they ping me 30 minutes later, like, okay, you can come now. And I go in and it's full. And I'm like, oh, I was preparing to like do for these 5 people, right? And it's like 300 people. It was a great show. So no, it was a bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie.
And after the show, when people came up to you, I mean, I saw and I read some of the messages you received after that first one. Did you feel that, okay, this is it, they love it? That must have given you a lot of energy.
Yeah, I think I got a lot of insights on the first one.
Mm.
Because I also listen a lot. Even if I spent 67 hours speaking, I probably spent more hours listening. Right? When I sit there quietly, just listening to when I'm in the Uber, people talking, or when I'm around, just listening to people. And I also listen a lot to the questions I get. So I do the Q&A. People ask me a lot of questions. And there's, one way is listening to what the question is and answering it, but also seeing, since the psychology I've studied, you see patterns. You see patterns. And I'll be like, hey, a lot of people are asking about these specific things. And that's when I also realized that, okay, these are the insights that I need to focus more on. So like for every show I did, I also learned more and more like where I should put more pressure and emphasis on, right? So it was a learning experience a lot. But no, it was, I was not expecting like people wanting to fist bump me or take pictures with me. I'm like I'm just this guy from Sweden, right? Like
Yeah, I mean, in your bio, you've done a lot of talks before, but you've been a CEO of a social media company, and now you're touring, and it shows. I mean, that must have been a huge difference. I mean, in your life circumstances.
Yeah. As a business owner, you do a couple of meetings and then you like turn off, right? So this was different. But you have to just have gratitude and just remind yourself. I think that's why it's so important for before every show. It doesn't matter if it was a radio interview, whatever. Before everyone, the thing I said, like I talk to myself. I'll be like, "You're here now. You're supposed to deliver." Because it gets. I'm only human, right? After having the same speech for 5 hours, and they were like, "Okay, now we're doing the afternoon event, and I need to spend another 60 minutes." Having like it's practically the same speech, even if I change a few jokes and stuff like that, it's practically the same speech, right? Now I have to do the same speech for the 7th time this day. It's easy to think like, and I kept telling Seina, but should I include that or should I skip this part? And she's like, no, include it's good because you say the same story. You're like, is it really interesting, right? But it takes a lot of toll on you. That I think that was the most thing for my psychic. Was that I need to have the same energy. I need to talk about this with the same passion. I need to joke with the same passion as well, and laugh at the jokes I need to laugh at. I need to even if it's the 7th time for me, for them it's the first time, and I need to remember that, and I need to give them the same energy that I gave the first one, and that's that's a huge. It sounds so silly when you say it, but it's really hard. It's really hard. You have to remind yourself that it's the first time for them. It's the first time for them.
Yeah, I mean, I did one show this last year, and I was exhausted after one show because it's so much before people are calling, texting, and you were in it for 3 weeks. I think this is, very, very hard for people who haven't done it before to understand that mental pressure. What did you do in between the talks? Did you meditate? Did you train in the mornings, or what did you do to?
I think that was my meditation, right? When I sit and talk to myself and and go through that, and every ride afterwards, I talk to the team like, okay, feedback. What could we done better? What did you think? Right? I think that's one way of meditation. But I get so much energy from the people. Like, trust me when I say like, if you should have an episode with Seina, my coordinator, and just talk to her about it, because trust me, like. We had like a one day in Joburg where we only had this one radio interview, and then we didn't have so much more, right? And she never seen me as low as that day. Like I'm just like all this, like I don't know what to do, whatever. And then I do the radio interview, and afterwards, like then I get my hype again, right? I was like, oh yeah, we need to do that. We need to do that. And she's like, man, because I get so much energy from people, right? And the people. I see the gratitude, and they come and they want pictures, they want everything, and they want to ask questions, and they have this and all that. it doesn't matter how tired I am. Like we had this one day I remember in Namibia where, as I said, we did it 9 hours straight with no food. And I was so energized by that. Like everyone else was like, of course, yeah, because they don't have the same. But there's not the same experience if you're the one they're talking to, right? But I was so energized because I saw the passion in people's eyes that they needed this, and I could have done 4 more shows that day, no doubt. So I think you need to genuinely be that kind of person. If you're doing it, like I think if I did this for money, this was this cost me money, not gaining money. If I did this for money, I would probably be more stressed because I've been like, okay, did anyone buy anything? Did we sell any books? Did we do that? Whatever. I would focus on that. I'm like, it was a shitty show. Nobody bought. I would have been like that, right? But now I did it only for love, right? So and just have a positive impact. And that's, I remember when we were in the Botswana gig, there was the biggest one. There was like 3,000 people there. And I think we handed out like 1,200 books. And each one of them wanted it signed, right? And this was this huge line. And I'm just sitting there. I'm just signing books. And it's the same thing that I told myself before I'm signing books. I'm like, okay, there's a huge line here, right? Every single one of them wants the same experience. No one wants me to be like, here I go, right? They want the same experience. And I swear to you, 1,200 people, each one of them, hi, how are you? All good? Oh, yeah, right, okay. Eye contact, talking, smiling, writing. Oh, that's nice, whatever. If I saw they had like a nice fit or something, like, oh, dude, I love this sweater. Like, I gave everyone their time. Some had questions like, sorry, I have a question. Like, no, don't worry, ask it. Like, I had people around me, like the ones who were organizing the event. They were like, oh, maybe we should call it off. Like, they were trying to rush them. Like, okay, no pictures. No, I'm like, no, let them take a picture. Like, I'm here now, right? And it's. I think you have to live in that moment.
Before that big one in Botswana, I followed you on Insta stories like every day. Like now he's doing this and now he's here. So you were backstage in this huge stadium. I mean, it was 4,000 tickets sold. It was free.
No, since it's free,
Exactly.
So it was like 4,000 registered.
Right.
And that was the mistake we did because we stopped registering after 4,000. But some people get life happens, whatever. Yeah. So only like 3,000 showed up, right?
But that's still a lot of people. and I mean, backstage you have all these cameras. How did you feel when you entered that room? I mean, did you think about where you came from, Sweden? You dropped out school.
Yeah.
You were going to be a teacher, and now you're going to do in Botswana a massive event. That must have been like a nostalgic feeling.
No, it was incredible, and I'm telling you, like I was constantly high on gratitude. Like it was just so unreal. Like I've done big shows before, but it's always been like 10 speakers. Like now it was only me, right? People came to see this, and people said like afterwards, people from Botswana, like they've never seen an event like that. It's like never been like a big event like that, and they're already be like, oh, you have to come back next year. We have to make it bigger. Now people know you and stuff like that, right? So no, it was surreal. It was crazy.
And when you entered the stage, 3,000 people, that is a lot of people. I mean, I've been to 1,000, but 3,000 is a lot of people. Did you feel nervous then? Or was it just you were in the role? Or how did it feel to enter the stage, 3,000 people in front of you?
No, I don't I don't get nervous on stage. Like I get it a little bit before, right? But I have I always identify like 6 people in the audience that I focus on. Like I make sure that I get eye contact on someone in the front here, someone in the back there, someone on the up there. Like I get eye contact from like 5-6 people, and that those becomes my measurements. Like if I see, and I try to like identify different, like some young people, older people, like some that looks business, some like that look students. So like when I start and talk like hi, I look around and I identify these 5-6 people. And they are the judgments for if I'm doing good or not. Like, so if I see one of them get bored or something, then I try to switch things up. So for me, it was like 6 people in the audience. Like I see everyone else, but I just try to focus on the few. It's easier like that.
Oh, this is amazing, Alexander. But how did it feel to, I mean, you have kids at home, you have your family here in Sweden, and you're going away for weeks in Africa, and you're going soon again to Africa. How do you play that part, being a family man and a show?
No, I'm telling you, on the plane to Africa, to the side of the world, like that was the biggest regret moments I had. I was like, why am I leaving my family doing this? Like, why is it even worth it? Like, I'm being stupid. Like, all the voices, like family, the business. Like, I left my company for this. I'm just sitting alone in a plane like an idiot. Like, what am I doing, right? But I remember telling my wife, like, after the first day, I was like, hey, this is worth it. Like, just seeing all the attention we got, like from the first three events we did in the first day, and how much it meant for them. Is like I was like, no, like this, like, because I was a bit in the beginning. I believed in this idea so much, but when no one wanted to sponsor, like when I started losing contacts, like I have to, like, I don't want to like humble brag or anything, but you know, like in this industry that I had, like the market industry, like I was top dog in it, right, in Europe, and I had a lot of powerful contacts, like that would do anything for me to be on their good side. They would do me favors, they would do everything. I lost a lot of that as soon as I stepped down from it just felt like people distanced themselves from me a little bit when I started doing charity things. I saw like this interview with Mr. Beast, and he said like, if you want to be liked by people, you should never do charity stuff. Like, because the better things you do, the more hate you get. And I literally felt that. I felt that so much that people were like, oh, who do you think you are doing this? And like some of the comments when I push it, like 90% is positive, right? But then you get some comments like, we don't want you here. Why are you coming here? And stuff like that. And it's crazy because I've been all around the world doing it paid, and no one has ever said anything like that. So when I get paid doing it, people are like, oh, thank you for coming. Thank you for showing up here in Mongolia. Thank you for showing up in London, whatever. When you get paid doing it, people are happy. If you post about like a fancy car you bought or like something success like that, you bought a new house, people are like, wow, go, man. And then you post something where you're helping people, and they'll be like, oh, who you think you are? Like, isn't it wild? So I really resonated with what he said, that like if you truly want to be liked, you shouldn't do the charity things. And that was the main things I was battling with before the trip. Like, am I doing the right thing? Why am I leaving the family doing this and stuff like that? But I mean, took 1 or 2 days, and then I was like, oh, this is the right thing. I don't care about any of that anymore.
I mean, I guess also how many fathers and mothers who maybe they are home, but they are not present. They are with their phones and they are tired and they are bored maybe. And Noah can say, yeah, my dad is in Africa helping people for free. That's a quite cool thing to give to your son as well, to show them that anything is possible.
Yeah, I think you have a responsibility as a parent to be a role model. Like, I don't want my kids to be spoiled. I don't want them to feel entitled or privileged in that way. I want them to know that like you could choose your life to do good as well, and still be successful. So you have to be a role model. And then, as you say, some people some are home, but they're not even present, right? And I have to say that like there are two worlds in this. And the one world when I'm away, and one when I'm back now. Like, this was a struggle planning this podcast, because you were like, oh, can you do this afternoon? I'm like, no, I'm picking up the kids. Like, oh, can you do this afternoon? Like, no, I'm taking Noah to his sport activity. Like, because when I'm home now, I don't have a job. Like, I'm literally not working. The only thing I'm doing is planning the tour a little bit, attending to my community, doing like podcasts and stuff like that. But I'm only doing this like in the beginning of the day, like early in the day. And then I'm dedicating the rest of the days to being present and being a father. Like, there's something I could never have done when I was an entrepreneur. I've spent the first 6-7 years of Noah's life being very non-present. Like, even if I was home, I was like, it was always like, I get this call from someone. I need to take this call. Like, will you come and watch me practice? Or like, I can't do it today. Like, I think I've literally, before this, I've seen him. He plays floor bandit, right? I think before that, I've seen him in his practice maybe 3 times. And I'm already now, when I'm back, I've taken them 4 times already. So I'm already like more than 100% a better father, right?
Yeah.
So no, I it's just a whole different thing now. It's I really enjoy it.
But if you compare Europe and people in Sweden and their knowledge in AI compared to Africa, how far behind would you say Africa is when it comes to knowledge to
You mean
AI?
how far behind Europe is?
Really?
Cause no, I literally I was so amazed by how I think if you look at the majority, I would say in a majority standpoint, maybe the majority of Europe is ahead, right?
Because I thought that was the mission to like.
Yeah, but the thing is, they are in a minority. There's a very strong minority in Africa that are really good at tech. And those are super powerful. Like I met this 12-year-old kid, and he's asked me questions about AI and like gaming and stuff like that. I was like, hey, bro, like apparently you know this better than me. Like I'm just a generative AI guy, right? You know the real stuff. So some of them are really, but they don't have like platforms in the same way that we have in Europe. And I think there was one thing I noticed in the tour that a lot of people appreciated, like just showing up to the event and meeting people that are like-minded, so they could network. A lot of people said that, like, thanks to the event I went to, I found this and this person, and now we're doing this company together, we're doing this and that together. So starting these conversations was like became the real mission. Like, so people talk about it more, open up these platforms. Africa as a continent is behind in a way that they don't have their own LLM. Like, US has ChatGPT, China has DeepSeek, France even dropped their own word, like Le Chat and stuff like that. Africa hasn't done that yet. So they don't have their own AI. And that's something that they're working on right now, which was one of the most common questions. Like, how do we create our own, right? What can we do? But people were very ahead of the game, but they just need like the tools to leverage it. Like, how can we actually use it to make money? And I think one of the biggest insights that I learned and that they learned during my sessions is that they can compete on a global level in a way that US or Europe can't. They can compete in a way that no other continent can. And that's because their disadvantage becomes their strongest asset. The fact that they have a financial disadvantage, like, in some of these countries I visited, the average salary is like 300 USD monthly, right? So if I can teach them with tools that, hey, if you do this and you do that and you reach out to them, you can sell this service for 100 USD in Europe. Like, if you're competing in Zimbabwe, I mean, there's no jobs. Like, it's really, really hard. But if you're Zimbabwe and you're contacting someone from Sweden, you contact Jonathan Ljungqvist and you say, hey, I love your podcast. I can cut it for you.
Wow.
I can give you 15 episodes, 15 short reels you can post on Instagram for each episode you do. And all I need is 100 USD. Would you do it?
Yes.
100 USD, nothing for you, right?
Yeah.
That's a third of an average salary for them, right?
Jesus.
So if they reach out to 100 podcasts saying that, and they get 10 clients, they just made 1K.
That gave me goosebumps, because that can really, really make a difference.
And that's the goosebumps I got when I realized that. And that's the goosebumps everyone in the audience.
I thought you were just sharing some knowledge, not that you were transforming lives.
Yeah, no. That's the crazy thing. Like, I sent you some of the DMs that I've been receiving. So far, I've got I think it's 43, and I got a couple of ones today as well. So it's already 43 people. And this was just 2 weeks ago I was there, right? Already 43 people who has reached out that has made money from this, right? That means there's probably 400 people, but they haven't reached out, right? Like, I don't know. And one of them, like the one that actually made me feel like, when I read it, I was almost getting tears reading it. It was this this young girl, and she was like, she used to have 150 USD as a monthly salary. That was like what she was making, and she was trying to provide for her family. And then she implemented the stuff I said, literally this one, like to cut videos and stuff like that using AI. And now she was making 450 USD. So she went from 150 to 450 on a monthly basis. And keep in mind, 150 was a full-time job. 450 was on 2 clients. Like, I think she spends like 8 hours a month now with that. 8 hours gives her 450 USD. That's like a 4 times increase of her. And she was like, now my mother doesn't have to work double shift and she can be at home and more. Like, that's a crazy. Like, she could actually hire someone. She's making enough money with 2 clients now she can find another person in I think, if I remember correctly, I think this was Namibia, right? She can find another person there and be like, hey, I'll hire you for 150 if you do this. She can expand her business, right? And so she can actually employ someone now with that and get 2 more clients and then 2 more clients. So this is something you can, because when I was in London talking about this, when I was, and people were like, oh, this is amazing, this is so great, AI, whatever, because I'm a really good speaker, right? Because you taught me everything. And then I come back next year, I was like, hey guys, did you do it? Like, have you been? They're like, no, we haven't had time. I was like, oh, but you watched the new Squid Game, right? They're like, yeah. So, like, and the thing is, like, it's so little money for us.
Yeah.
Like, people are like, oh, I'm gonna spend like 15 hours trying to get new clients and everything, and all that just for $400. That's not worth it. But it's worth it for others. So that's their disadvantage that some African countries has becomes the strongest asset, because they can compete with people in Europe and US in ways that no one else can. So that's what I think will be the biggest impact.
Drop the mic on that one. I mean, how did you were in some of the biggest local medias in Zimbabwe, Namibia, Botswana, South Africa. Was that also Saina who arranged all of that, or how did you get?
No, they reached out. Like,
they reached out. Maybe okay.
So when I posted that I'm coming here to Namibia, I'm doing this, etc. They reached out. Like, the local people that we had, like in each country, we had local representatives that were helping planning and talking to people. They were talking to them, saying like, this guy is coming, and I mean, like, it's not like I'm just this random guy who's like, hey, I'm coming to, like, I've also had a lot of success, right? Like, my track record better than anyone, like the things that I've done. So it is a big deal for like any, like, because as I said, these countries, they're not used to people actually showing up and doing this. No one is, you don't see Gary or Simon Sinek, or like, you don't see any of them be like, oh, I'm going to Botswana to have a show. Like, it's not happening. It's literally not happening. I saw this guy, Steve Harvey. You know Steve Harvey?
Yeah.
He's doing a Botswana show for Family Feud, and he got a lot of heat for that because apparently he's filming it in South Africa.
Nah.
But like, so he's like, people from Botswana have to travel to South Africa and record a show. So like, even when they're doing a Botswana show, they're not even in Botswana, right? So which is crazy. But no, so it's. I think people were just so excited, like yeah.
And I mean, you're going back to Africa, to one of my favorite countries in the world. You're going to Tanzania, and I'm looking at the days, like, because I'm going to Italy, like, oh, I really want to come there and join you.
Yeah.
So you're going to Tanzania, Kenya, or are you going to Uganda as well, or what countries are next?
So far, we are in the midst of planning it. So far, it's Ethiopia. It's Kenya, it's Tanzania, it's Rwanda, it's Nigeria.
Wow.
So far, yeah. We're looking at like Uganda, we're looking at Ghana, we're looking at Cape Town, we're looking at a lot of different countries, but it's also like a geographical thing.
Yeah.
Cape Town is very far down. It's almost easier, like when I'm doing like Brazil and those countries, it's easier almost to go from Brazil to Cape Town than to go from Rwanda to Cape Town. So it might be that we do it later.
Yeah. So Kenya, Tanzania, then you need to learn some Swahili.
Yeah, I've been trying. Like, ChatGPT has, you can talk to it and learn Swahili. But don't test me now. Maybe you can teach me.
Yeah, you can say Jina langwa ni nani Alexander.
Jina langwa ni nani Alexander.
That's my name is Alexander.
Hey, let's go.
Nakupenda, Kenya, and Tanzania.
Nakupenda, Kenya, and Tanzania.
That means I love Kenya and Tanzania.
Oh, let's go.
And if you, I know some Swahili after all these years.
Yeah, you spent a lot of time there, right?
Yeah, I spent.
You should hook me up with some contacts that you have. Maybe they can help with the tour, man.
Yes, definitely. You actually, you did some marketing for me in Dar es Salaam, and I did a talk in Dar es Salaam.
How was that?
Exactly like your talk. Like, I was there, and in the beginning, it was like 3-4 people.
Yeah.
And I felt, oh my God.
This
no.
Alexander guy, he tricked me.
And exactly the same thing happened. They said, yeah, just wait a little bit. People will come, people will show up. And I left the room, and when I came back, people was in the room. And it was just this. I also did it for free, and it was like this. I can relate to
I
all
remember
your
I fixed your
feelings.
hotel for free as well, right?
Yeah, I think you did. And
Like that's more than I did for my own
and
myself.
I met this guy, Prager, at Kilimanjaro, and I said, do you want to be my manager? And he said, yeah, sure, let's go. So yeah, Tanzania is just, you have to go to Zanzibar as well.
Yeah,
you have
a
to
lot of people are coming. Like, when I went
Yeah.
into your room here, right? I was doing live on Instagram.
Yeah.
I was, as soon as I entered, they was like, "Are you coming to Zanzibar?" I was like, sorry, I'm not."
Yes,
like,
you need to go to Zanzibar.
A lot of people saying that.
Zanzibar
I might
is
try
one
to
of
do it.
the most beautiful islands in the world.
Damn, I must
You can give a lecture there or something in Stone Town.
If anyone's watching this and in Zanzibar and wants to make that happen, like, reach out, please.
You should. You should.
But I think that's the difference. Like, because you say, like, what's the difference? Why do you take action and stuff like that? I think that's something I noticed in that side of the world as well. Like the guy you met, and he was like, "You want to be my manager?" And he was like, "Yeah." I think that's also like a cultural thing. Like I'm very much like that. I think because my parents were always like, they always said, like, you can do whatever you want, you can do anything, just do it. Like, because growing up, I was like, I think I want to write a book, and they're like, well, don't think about it, just write it. Which led to me, a 17-year-old, writing a book, right? I was like, I'm thinking I want to, when I grow up, I want to have a record label. And my father was like, what do you mean grow up? Just do it. And I, like, as 17-year-old, I had my own record label, and like had like 10 artists and stuff like that. By the time I was 20. So I think that, but I think it's because my father and my mother are from Syria and Lebanon, and I think in that culture it's like, yes, okay, let's do it. The same way he was like, and the same way all the locals that I've been talking to, like, hey, you want to help out with this? They don't expect anything. They're like, yeah, I can drive you, I can fix you, I do everything, and everyone is so polite. Mr. Murad, Mr. Alexander, or like, just Alexander. So it's just a whole different attitude here. I don't want to, like, I love Europe as well, but it wouldn't be possible. Like, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I don't know, we need a contract, we need like a deal, like, how does this, like, it's just too much work. We need 8 meetings before deciding something, and like, it's just too much work here. Like, I don't get it.
So you're going to Addis Ababa, I guess, in Ethiopia?
Yeah.
Wow, I've been there too. So
you've been there?
Yes, that's where I had malaria.
Oh.
But I picked up malaria in Sudan. So it was not the Ethiopian country here.
I've been in Sudan as well.
But Addis is a very extraordinary city in many ways.
Yeah. Did you actually experience it, or were you just stuck in the bed with malaria, man?
I mean, because I was there in 3 weeks, one of the hotel managers there said, do you want to see my village? And we went to his village. And
this is what I mean.
Exactly. They are very open.
You don't get that in Europe. It's literally impossible.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
It's literally impossible.
You sit in Clarion and a hotel manager asks you if you want to see.
Literally impossible, man.
Yeah, so we spent a full day with his mother. Like, we watched her cook, and it was just an amazing day. So so you're gonna do this in April and May, right?
Yeah. So this one will be a bit longer. This might be like 4 or 5 weeks, something like that, I think.
4 or 5 weeks. And after that, does it go on? Do you go to South America? Or what's the plan?
So like, we have this rough plan, right? Then I just let life, because I'm just letting life decide what happens, right? I never thought that I would revisit these countries again, like probably as a tourist, right? But now every country, like, hey, you have to come back to Zimbabwe, you have to come back. So I don't know, next year I might do it again. But the plan right now is I'm doing like 1 month away, 1 month not away, right? So the plan is, in June, I'm doing Europe, because everyone talks about Europe as well, like, oh, it's so privileged, but not every country here has that, right? So I'm trying to visit some of the countries that doesn't really get visited.
Yeah, you should go more to Eastern Europe.
Yeah, definitely.
Slovakia, Bulgaria.
Yeah, I know, like, all of those ends with like Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, Lithuania, Latvia, like Estonia. I don't know why. It's like, but because like this whole revelation in a way happened when I also was in Latvia. That's when I get the real realization that, hey, these people actually appreciated what I said, and they actually implemented it, and they made it work.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that. Probably also France will be, because like the team is going to Cannes. I'm guessing I'll probably speak there again, so I'll do that when
What
I'm.
a contrast!
Yeah,
You came
yeah.
with all the yachts.
Yeah, but I
and
was hoping maybe I can talk
boats and-
about that contrast, like
the journey, of course.
So I'm doing that, and then July a little bit of vacation. Then August probably Asia, and then after that I haven't, like, I don't know if like I need to do Asia in two legs like I did Africa. Might do like that. We'll see.
But you're doing this for free. But how do you make a living right now? Did you have
I
saved
don't
up a
make a
lot of
living.
buffer,
Yeah.
or how do you
Like, we've
pay for your expenses?
Yeah, no, we've saved a lot of. I've saved a lot. Trying to get some sponsors, but sponsors is not covering, not even close. I'm hoping the second leg now might be easier, because like I think a lot of companies didn't really understand what's happening, right? The same way you were like, oh, I thought you were just educating, but you're actually changing lives, right? So I think it will be easier this time around to get that support. But other than that, no, like it's just goes how it goes. Like hopefully Orion kicks off soon. That will create a little bit of income as well. I do. We have the course that we're selling here in Sweden, and that's generating a bit of income as well, stuff like that. So yeah.
Would you say you are more happy now when you're? I mean,
Yeah.
last couple of years you've been making a lot of money, millions
Yeah.
in sales, and now you have this
Yeah.
space in your life.
Yeah.
You don't have employees, you don't have
Yeah.
customers, and
No, there's no stress. There's no stress at all. But I understand it's a privilege. Not everyone can be like, hey, I'm just gonna take a year off and not make any money. And like, and I know it because I talk to a lot of people when I'm there, and like, just when I tell them like, oh yeah, the first leg it cost me like 35,000 euro. They're like, that's money people don't even see in a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
They're like, why would you waste it on us, right? It's like such a difference, and so I know that I'm like super privileged just to be able to do that, and that's why I'm also doing it, because I think like people don't really need that much money.
Yeah.
But I feel so happy. Like I'm very honest when I say like I think love is the new money, and I feel. You've known me since day one, since I started my company, right?
Yeah.
Like I've been going through shit, man.
Yeah,
Like
you've
during
been hustling, and
I've been going through it.
fighting.
I probably lost like 10 years of my life, in just health issues with stress and everything. I've been. It's always been so rough. Like even when the times are good, it's like, oh, but if I chill now, this and this might happen, whatever. And it's like, oh, and the better it goes, the bigger clients you get, the bigger responsibilities you get, the bigger stress you get, and like we have to deliver, we have to do that, we have to go there, we have to go, like all that is like I haven't had an alarm on my clock. Like the tour was the first time I put an alarm in like a very long time, which it's so it's so good just to wake up when I wake up. I always wake up early though because my head is just messed up. But no, I feel really, really at peace. I feel really happy. I feel very grateful for. I don't know why I deserve doing this and like being able to experience this, but I feel very grateful for it. I feel very grateful that what I say also resonates. It could be that I say things and go there, they're like, "Oh, that sucks. You shouldn't say that," right? People have been reading the book. Been having I think it was like 6,000 something books. Some physical, some
Do
ebooks,
you
right?
give out books, or do you?
It's free, yeah.
It's for free.
Yeah.
And do you bring the books, or how do you?
No, so I think we've given out like 1,500 physical books, and the rest is ebooks, like digital, right?
Yeah.
Because it's too expensive. But we have like sponsors who's so it's basically I've sold 6,000 something books because we have sponsors who's paying for it to be sold, right? So it's covering the costs a bit. So that's also crazy. Like sold 6,000 books in a way.
Sure.
It's not but it's not profit sales. It's being sold for what it costs to create, right? But that's also something I'm super grateful for, like because I get a lot of DMs about like how people enjoying the book. Then I should have brought one to you.
Yes, you should.
Yeah, you should. I'm gonna get you
I will
one.
order one.
Yeah, I'm
But
getting you.
I want it signed.
Yeah, I might sign. You know, I've signed a couple of books now. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, so I feel really, really at peace right now.
I think it's super inspiring. I mean, knowing your background, and this was an unexpected move
Yeah.
to just take a year charity. Do you see yourself going back to CEO roles in the future, or is this your path now, or where do you see yourself next?
I don't like, I've never liked categorizing myself. Like I don't want to be like, oh, I believe I can go back to being a CEO. I'm a CEO. Like I wouldn't say I'm a bad CEO or a bad founder or a good CEO. Like I will do what's needed and what I feel like the path is correct, right? I said it. I think I said it in the last podcast. Like if I'm done with this, I feel like I've done this now. I want to go back to Brightman. I'm not expecting that they'll be like, oh yeah, come here. Maybe I will have to start as an intern again. I just prove myself that I still got it, right? And I would love to do that. I would love to do that. There's no prestige in that. Maybe there's another company reaching out that has alignments with this, and or maybe I'll continue doing this. I would probably not be able to do this for free forever, right? Like so. But maybe there's solutions like I know I've spoken to people like in Zimbabwe that wants me to come back next year, and I think there's ways to do that without it costing a fortune as well. Because they had like an idea like, hey, now that people know you here, what if we? It would be easier to get sponsors, right? But what if we rent a venue with like 2,000 people, like, and we sell a ticket for $2? That's a very small sum for people, right? But that also generates a 4K, and that 4K can cover flights and a hotel, and maybe make like $500 in the pocket, something. So that's like, well, yeah, I promise, like, I from going from being able to charge like 4, 5K, 7K per gig, I would love to do a gig like that, even if I'm only making $500. But that could work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you go to Dar es Salaam, I know people in Moshe would like to see you. People in Russia
Yeah.
can you see yourself stream the talks too, or is it only physical? Or
Like I'll probably release all that afterwards, but I feel like releasing it now is like, okay, I've seen it digitally. I don't know. I'm releasing a lot of it on social though. A lot of parts of it. But I don't know if we're streaming it at the moment. I think I want people to show up. Like I want people to, because there's a different thing. If I wanted to stream it, I could have just recorded it here in this beautiful studio and be like, hey, this is the whole talk, and then I can just send it out. But you know how it is.
Yeah.
Like people
They
watch
watch
5 minutes
it.
and whatever. They'll be like, oh, maybe I don't want it, whatever.
Yeah.
There's a different thing when you show up.
Yeah.
Like when I show up, I'm telling them that, hey, I think you're worth investing in. I believe in you. I think it's worth being here. When they show up, they're telling me that, hey, I think my life is worth investing in, and I want to do something better. And that just creates a whole different thing.
So if you're listening to this, man, if you are 10 hours away, you should still get on that bus and do this for yourself, because you will have knowledge that will completely transform your life.
A lot of people did that as well.
Yeah,
Like a lot of
I can
people
imagine
reached out to me like, I had to drive 6 hours to go to this show, but it was so worth it, blah blah blah. And I remember leaving the Botswana show in Gaborone, because we're sitting back for a while and just talking or whatever. And then when we're leaving, like everyone was gone, and there was like 2 kids sitting outside of the school. And they looked distressed, and were like, and when our car came, and I was like, hey guys, what are you doing, right? Why are you still here? Like, and they were like, oh, our phone is dead, and I'm not even from the city. I traveled from like Francistown, which is like far away. I don't even know the name of the Airbnb that I'm staying at. I don't know how to get there, whatever. And then like we helped them out, and we got them like an Uber and stuff like that. But that was just crazy for me to be there. Like this kid, he just went all that road just to see me.
Whoa.
Which is like, it's just so crazy. It's just, but it also shows that like, I was like, this kid is gonna have a great future. Like, because he's willing to invest in himself. He's willing to put his, even if my show was free. He paid to drive there. Probably he paid for the Airbnb.
Yes.
He's willing to invest in himself because he believes that this is the future, and doing all that, and he still felt it like this was so worth it. Like that's it just makes it warmer in a way, right?
Is there anything else you would like to add to this episode, Alexander?
I don't know. I think we covered a lot of good parts of it. Like I know a lot of your listeners are speakers and wants to become good speakers. And a lot of my followers, like I spoke to a lot of people, they're like, oh, how do I become a public speaker? You talk to this guy. But I'm just saying that, right? But I don't need to plug you in your own podcast. But I know a lot of your listeners are people who wants to become speakers or who already are really good speakers or famous speakers and stuff like that. I just want to tell them like Africa is worth investing in. Like if you're listening to this and you feel like inspired and like you're like, oh, that's crazy and everything like that. I have two messages for you. Like Africa, Asia, all this overlooked. When I say Africa, I mean like every other country. Then like South Africa as well, of course. But a lot of people go there. All right, it's not the same thing. But of course they need it as well. I have a lot of mad followers that I'm not going to Cape Town. I will one day, right? But there's so many overlooked cities and countries that needs externals to also come in and inspire and invite them to the conversations. So if you're listening to this, I believe you should like seriously consider it. And if you want to do it, reach out because like I have a lot of contacts now, so I could probably help in fixing a couple of gigs for you and stuff like that there, right? But and it's gonna be so worth it. It's incredible.
Yeah, I was a little skeptical at first, but when I followed you on Instagram, I just felt, yeah, maybe one day I would love to do, maybe not that extreme, but at least one major one.
Yeah,
maybe we can do that together.
We can do it together. You can join now in April.
Yeah, I know.
But you should do an extreme one. You should do like
I like big ones.
But you know, like I have to say, like the Botswana one was incredible because it was so big, etc. But I still like one of my favorites was like we were like in a village a bit outside of the city. It was a charity organization. It was like in a classroom with a projector and stuff like that. And it was like a lot of young people, and everyone was so keen. And like it was, I think it was only like 80 or 100 people, something, which is still a lot, right?
Yeah.
But that was one of my favorite sessions because you get so close to it. It becomes so human in a way. The big one is cool and all. We can do that as well. But there's something in being, on the floor as well. So yeah.
We will see. Maybe I can join you for a couple of days in April. But
you should, man.
Yeah, wow.
I need you in Tanzania. You should be my local guide.
I can be your translator.
Yeah. No, but my coordinator, Saina, she's from Kenya, right? So
she's from Kenya, Nairobi.
Yeah, so she speaks Swahili.
I would love to meet her.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Like, we need to have her on your podcast.
Yes.
Like, that would be so cool, to be honest.
She should have been with us today.
Yeah, she should have.
Definitely.
Yeah.
She's been like a character in this conversation.
Yeah, actually.
But thank you very much, Murad, for joining my podcast for the third time now. Yeah. And it's always a pleasure to have you here. And thank you so much for listening to my podcast. And please help us share Murad's message. Follow him on Instagram and on Facebook and on TikTok and on all the platforms you are on. I wish you a great day. Take care.
Stay bright. All right, so that was the episode. Thank you. If you're actually still listening, thank you so much for still being here. This YouTube channel is still a bit new, so make sure to give it some love, subscribe, comment below, and if you haven't joined the community yet, make sure to join it. The link will be in the bio. Take care, everyone.